These gas and auto sales, thank them for having me as the guest today here. You know, the reason we're gathered here is because yesterday I kicked off my campaign for the United States Senate. We had an incredible kickoff in my hometown of Whitman with my family, with friends, with supporters. We had hundreds and hundreds of people at the Whitman VFW, and just really an exciting time to be running, because I think it's now that moment when we are going to get true representation down in Washington, D.C. And so, you know, here's the thought. What can I do for you? What can I do for us? And what can I do for Massachusetts? That's what your U.S. Senator should be thinking about every day when they wake up and when she or he goes to bed, is what can I do for you? What can I do for us? What can I do for Massachusetts? And I have to ask, can anybody here tell me what Elizabeth Warren has done for the state of Massachusetts down in Washington, D.C.? And that's my point. You know, job number one is to represent the interest of the people of this great state. Job number one is not to write 2 books while you're serving in office, making $1.6 million in the process while you're supposedly working on our dime. Job number one is not to try to obstruct the administration down in Washington and hope that he fails, because that means that the people of the United States are going to be suffering because of that. And job number one certainly isn't to continue to overlook Massachusetts and ask for 2 more years as your United States Senator just so she can run for President of the United States. That's not what this is about. This is about working for the people of Massachusetts, something I've been proud to do since 2010 when I was first elected. And in 2014 was a chance to really work with a lot of great folks who are standing in front of you here today, a lot of great folks across this state who worked so hard to repeal an index gas tax, which is why we're here at the gas station today, Tony's today. And we're talking about the fact that we saved taxpayers $2 billion with the repeal in question 1 in 2014. Now, just to give you a quick history, you know, in 2013, Diehl Patrick proposed a record amount of tax increases for the state of Massachusetts, $2 billion. $2 billion, and part of that was this indexed gas tax that was going to go up every year with inflation. This is Massachusetts. This is the home of no taxation without representation. And so a bunch of us said, this really can't stand. And so we ended up putting together a team of people that got the organization together, that got volunteers to collect over 120,000 signatures across the state, all without paid people, all volunteers, getting signatures to make sure that we could get it on the ballot. And we were told there was no chance that that ballot question was ever going to pass because there was going to be $3 million spent against us. And by the way, I was told that it's a career killer. You know, you get behind this and you're basically, you know, killing yourself up on Beacon Hill as far as any, you know, future chances of success with legislation. Well, let me tell you, it was the right issue. Not just because, again, it would be the only tax in Massachusetts that would go up automatically without a vote, but it was going to hit middle to low-income families the most. Because it's not just what you pump in your car that would have gone up every year. It's also everything you purchase goes up because of the cost of transportation of those goods. Your property taxes would have continued to go up because municipalities aren't exempt from the gas tax. Every police car, every fire truck, every school bus, every ambulance, all those costs would have gotten translated to the property taxes that each of those folks in Massachusetts would be paying each year. And so we said, this is wrong. We got the signatures, and we ultimately delivered a victory in 2014, winning 53 to 47, and we ended up outperforming the governor's race by 50,000 votes. So that was a major win for the taxpayers of Massachusetts, the households who need that extra revenue in their pocket. And we didn't stop there. In 2015, we learned that Boston 2024 wanted Massachusetts taxpayers to be on the hook for Olympic overruns if we were to win the bid for the Olympics in 2024. The IOC required that Massachusetts taxpayers be responsible for any overruns, and the average overruns for the Olympics in the last 5 Olympics has been $10 billion. London went from $5 billion to $15 billion. Montreal, which hosted the '76 Olympics, just finished paying off their bonds a few years ago. So we knew this was wrong, and we also knew, you know, that their plans were ridiculous. They wanted to cut down trees on Boston Common, put up a temporary stadium, tear it down, and put trees back up. They wanted VIP lanes in and out of Boston for the IOC executives and for the athletes, because we have no problem getting in out of Boston right now, right? I mean, it's crazy, the commute, trying to get in there. But that's what they wanted. And Deval Patrick was being paid, now the former governor, $7,500 a day to try to sell this boondoggle to the state. But we, again, got together. The folks that helped repeal the index gas tax got together, and we worked with Evan Falchuk, who had run as an independent for governor, to develop the language, draft the language, and file it with the Secretary of State to make sure that taxpayers would not be on the hook. And about a week after we filed that ballot question language, Boston 2024 said, forget it, we're out of here, and they pulled the bid. So we were able to also, just the threat of people getting that ballot question out there was able to keep taxpayers off the hook for $10 billion. That's the kind of caring about the citizens of Massachusetts that I want to bring down to Washington, D.C. We've got major issues here in Massachusetts. We've got healthcare crisis. Healthcare in Massachusetts has gone from 29% of our budget to 42% of our budget. Washington needs to make sure that healthcare gets fixed. We need to solve that problem. Transportation in the state. Washington has a transportation budget lined up for the future. I want to make sure that Massachusetts gets its fair share. But we are doomed if we have a United States Senator that continues to obstruct everything going on down in Washington, D.C. Every nominee that the president's put for his cabinet secretary, including yesterday's nominee that was able to get the approval, bipartisan approval for the FBI, head of the FBI, Elizabeth Warren was one of 5 people that voted against it purely for partisan reasons. She's the most partisan senator down in Washington, D.C. And she spent the bulk of her time flying around the country, raising money for herself, her war chest, or for other Democrats to take on Republicans down in D.C. That's not solving the problems here in Massachusetts. That's just taking care of herself. You know, Ted Kennedy, who was the liberal lion of the Senate from Massachusetts, he was certainly no friend of Republicans on the campaign trail, but when elections were over, he would work with Republican presidents and Republican governors to deliver for the people of Massachusetts. I know that when I go down there, I'm going to take my track record of success and the fact that I have been able to work with the greatest people of Massachusetts who get out there and help as activists on campaigns to make sure that we bring accountability on Beacon Hill, and we can now continue to bring accountability down to Washington, D.C. So I'm asking folks who are here, if you're not already part of the team, you can join us at www.diehlforsenate.com, DIEHLFORsenate.com, and you can be a part of the team that's going to really work for Massachusetts down in Washington, D.C. I'm ready for the next 15 months to do everything I can to become your next United States Senator, and I'm hoping that you folks will join me in that fight.